I already made a video about the golden age of hot seat gaming, talking about turn-based strategy games like Warlords and Heroes of Might and Magic 1 and 2. But let's turn back time even further into the past and see where it all actually started. With King's Bounty. There was a lot of turn-based strategy games released in the early 90s with different emphasis on either exploration, resource management, combat, or a mixture of those, but none stood out like King's Bounty. King's Bounty is a turn-based fantasy video game published by New World Computing in 1990. Yes, the same company that made the Heroes of Might and Magic games. King's Bounty is therefore considered the forerunner of the Heroes of Might and Magic series. Funnily enough, back in the days, I had already played both Heroes of Might and Magic 1 and 2 before I even came across King's Bounty, and honestly, I didn't even draw the connection that these games was made by the same developer. We also didn't realize that there was in fact a story to the game, but we did quickly figure out the main objective due to us already having played Heroes of Might and Magic, and in hindsight, I think we probably had some idea that this was a forerunner to those games. But let's quickly go over the story. Your mission is to retrieve the Scepter of Order. To do this, you have to acquire up to 25 pieces of a map, revealing the location of the scepter. This would be similar to finding obelisks in Heroes of Might and Magic to reveal the location of the treasure, though in Heroes, that was rarely the main objective of the game. Your mission is given to you by King Maximus, who is on his deathbed, and you therefore have a time limit to find the scepter before he dies. The time limit is actually determined by the amount of moves you can make, and the number of moves can be changed based on the difficulty you choose. At the start of the game, you choose 1 out of 4 classes: the Sorceress, Knight, Barbarian, or Paladin. Each class varies in abilities, from starting troop power and magic abilities to natural leadership and weekly incomes. As soon as you load into the game, how the game goes and how you want to do things is all up to you. You'd usually start by recruiting some troops before heading to a nearby town to pick up your first contract. The contract shows which villain to go for, as you'd have to defeat them to get a piece of the treasure map. You could also rent a boat that costs 500 gold per week, as well as buying siege weapons, which you needed to be able to attack the villains' castles. In total, there are 17 contracts with progressively stronger villain armies to battle, which also equals to 17 pieces of the map. The rest you would have to get from finding treasure that is scattered around the world map. On your travels, you will also meet other enemy heroes that you could battle, defeating them to earn gold, and trust me, you need gold in this game, not only to buy troops, but also to keep them around. Every week, you would get a weekly income and the possibility to buy troops, but you are dependent on recruiting other creatures to be able to get far in the game, as most of these were much stronger than your normal human forces you start out with. As for combat, if you have played Heroes of Might and Magic, you would be very familiar with this. It's a turn-based system where you either move your troops or attack the enemy troops. You have both melee and ranged troops, and some troops that can fly. By being next to an enemy ranged unit, they can no longer attack anyone else than the troop that is next to them. If you have any spells as a hero, you can cast 1 spell per turn. And this part was what separated King's Bounty to other turn-based strategy games, as it also had a turn-based combat as well. You could argue that Warlords was similar, as it both was a turn-based strategy game with turn-based combat, but in Warlords, you didn't actively control the output of a battle, as it was just automatically decided when engaging in a battle. So for a game released in 1990, King's Bounty was really impressive. And this is where the regular informative part of the review stops, and my experience with the game begins. Because, oh boy, as I remember, this game is goddamn difficult. Neither me or my friends would ever be able to beat this game, and I don't think we even got close. As far as I understand, the game have 4 different continents to explore, and we never left the first one. True story. This is a game that requires a lot of experience, as you need to know who you are up against. Are you facing a few giants? Might sound easy, but all of a sudden, you realize those giants just destroyed your entire army. So, knowing which creatures are strong or not is essential for making it far in the game, and that, I would say, takes a bit of time. Not only in knowing which fights to take on and which to avoid, but also knowing which creatures to have in your own army as well, and not least finding them, as that is randomly generated for each playthrough. I did play this game now as a part of the review, and I actually got to explore the second continent of the game for the first time ever. So, woo! Progress! But having the game to be randomly generated means that this game have a lot of replayability. And since every game is randomly generated, excluding the map itself, this game will keep you entertained for hours and hours. Every time I create a new game, I just smile, both because it just takes me right back to my childhood, but also because it's actually really exciting creating a new game, renting a boat, then go sailing around to find some good creatures to recruit. The pixelated graphics will never run out of style, and this game is still, in my eyes, a beautiful game. It's fun to keep discovering new creatures you haven't seen before, and all of them looks pretty cool and unique. As for the music, well, if you play this on the computer, it doesn't really exist. All you get is a few triumphant tones as you defeat a hero or open a treasure chest, but other than that, all you get are those good old classic MS-DOS sounds. But is it weird that I find the absence of music a bit soothing and relaxing? There is something special and unique about playing those old DOS games without any music and barely any sound effects at all. It amplifies something about the games, either making you relax and enjoy the game more, or it can even make the game feel more scary, like Captain Comic. That was a game that I, for some reason, found to be a bit unnerving to play back in the days. As a final note, the game did also get ported to the Sega Genesis, which I honestly didn't know back in the days, with some pretty huge changes like making the game into a real-time strategy game. Armies on the overworld now would move on their own and automatically engage you in a fight. Another minor change made was the Wandering Armies, as they now display their most powerful creature as opposed to the generic hero in the DOS version. In conclusion, the pixelated graphics will never get outdated, and this game is both colorful and creative with its creature design. It's easy to get into, but demands a bit of experience to master. The difficulty, I'd still say, is a bit high, especially for new players, but the fun and addictive gameplay, in addition to its replayability value, makes this a really fun and good game to play. Overall, King's Bounty still holds up today. This game created the foundation of which later spawned the amazing Heroes of Might and Magic franchise, and for that we are thankful. You can play King's Bounty in your browser in just a few minutes right now, so what are you even waiting for? I highly recommend you checking it out right now.